Last night I was just cutting an onion. That is it. Not chopping garlic near an open wound, not slicing jalapenos, and then touching my eye like an idiot. Just a plain yellow onion. For a plain dinner. On a plain Tuesday. And within about 15 seconds I was standing at my cutting board, fully sobbing. Not a single sad thought in my head. No memory surfacing. Just tears streaming down my face over a vegetable, while some part of my brain calmly thought, why is this happening to me right now? Turns out foragers thousands of years ago had the exact same humiliating experience with wild alliums, the ancestor plants of onions and garlic. Except for them, it was not just an inconvenience at dinner. It might have been the plant literally trying to make sure they never did that again. Which raises a question MS cannot stop thinking about. If a plant can make a grown human cry on command, with zero physical pain involved, what else has been quietly hijacking your brain your entire life without you noticing? Hi, I'm Marin Still, and today, MS finally figured out why onions win. MS is not going to tell you this is some ancient act of vegetable revenge, and MS is also not going to tell you it is just simple science and move on. MS is going to walk you through exactly what happens between the knife hitting the onion and the tears hitting your cutting board, because the timing of that reaction is almost too well designed to be an accident. By the end of this, you are going to look at your spice rack a little differently. Here is what is actually happening, step by step, and it starts with something onions are doing on purpose. Onions belong to a plant family called alliums, which also includes garlic, leeks, and chives. All of them store sulfur compounds inside their cells, specifically inside separate little compartments that normally never touch each other while the onion is just sitting there whole and undisturbed. One compartment holds a sulfur-containing amino acid. Another compartment holds an enzyme that is basically sitting there waiting. The moment you slice through an onion with a knife, you are physically bursting open thousands of these tiny cells at once. That amino acid and that enzyme, which were never supposed to meet, suddenly get mixed together. The enzyme immediately starts converting the amino acid into a new, unstable compound. That unstable compound does not stay unstable for long. A chemist named Eric Bloch, who spent much of his career at the University at Albany studying the chemistry of alliums, helped map out exactly how this cascade works. The unstable compound almost instantly rearranges itself into something called syn-propanethyl S-oxide. Try saying that 5 times fast. It is easier to just call it what it actually is, a volatile gas, meaning it evaporates instantly into the air the second it forms. That gas rises straight up off your cutting board, right into your eyes. Here is where it gets weirder, and where the timing stops feeling like an accident. In 2002, a team of researchers led by Shinsuke Imai, working with house foods in Japan, published a study in the journal Nature that identified the specific enzyme responsible for this entire process. They named it lacrimatory factor synthase, which just means the tear-making enzyme. Before that study, scientists assumed the onion's sulfur compounds broke down more or less randomly into whatever ended up irritating your eyes. Imai's team found something much more precise. This enzyme exists specifically to funnel the reaction toward producing that one particular eye-irritating gas, instead of other, less irritating sulfur compounds the plant could have made instead. In other words, the onion is not accidentally making you cry as some chemical side effect. It evolved a dedicated enzyme whose entire job is aiming the reaction directly at your tear ducts. Stay with me. It gets weirder. Once that gas reaches your eyes, it reacts with the water on the surface of your eyeball and forms a mild acid, which is what actually irritates the nerve endings there. Your eyes respond the only way they know how to respond to irritation, which is by flushing themselves out with tears, trying to wash the offending substance away. You are not sad. You are not even really in pain, not the way a burn or a cut hurts. Your body has simply triggered its emergency eye wash system, and it does not know the difference between chemical warfare from a root vegetable and actual danger. So why would a plant bother evolving something this specific? Onions cannot run, they cannot hide, they cannot fight back the way an animal can. What they can do is make themselves genuinely unpleasant to eat, and sulfur compounds like this are a documented plant defense strategy across the allium family, evolved to deter the animals that would otherwise chew right through the bulb. Things like insects, slugs, and small foraging mammals looking for an easy meal underground. A rodent biting into a wild onion bulb gets a mouthful of the same irritating chemistry, minus the convenient distance a chef's knife gives you. For a small animal with sensitive tissue right at the point of contact, that is a genuinely effective reason to go dig somewhere else. Which brings us to your ancient ancestors, who were not eating tidy grocery store onions. They were pulling wild alliums straight out of the ground, bulbs still covered in dirt, and preparing them by hand with basic stone tools, sometimes crushing or tearing them apart, rather than making one clean cut. That means more cells rupturing at once, more sulfur compounds released simultaneously, and almost certainly a much stronger, much faster version of the exact reaction happening to you on a random Tuesday. Picture it. Someone finds a patch of wild onions near camp, gets excited because it is a genuinely good, calorie-dense find, hauls a handful back, and starts breaking them open to add to whatever is cooking over the fire. And then, without warning, their eyes are burning and streaming, and they have absolutely no framework for what is happening. No germ theory, no concept of volatile sulfur gases, just a sudden, inexplicable, painful reaction to a plant they were simply trying to eat, which from the inside probably felt less like chemistry and a lot more like some kind of curse or poison finally catching up with them. And this is the part that connects back to that random Tuesday of mine. That instinctive reaction, eyes flooding with tears at the first sign of an irritant, exists in you today for the exact same reason it existed in them. It was never designed to be convenient. It was designed to be fast, automatic, and impossible to override, because your ancestors did not have time to consciously evaluate every plant compound entering their eyes. The body needed a reaction that happened before the thinking part of the brain even caught up. So when you are standing at your cutting board, tears streaming down your face over something as small as dinner, you are not being oversensitive. You are running a defense system that is tens of thousands of years old, reacting to a chemical weapon that a plant spent millions of years perfecting specifically to make you regret picking it. The onion never had teeth or claws. It did not need them. It just needed a well-aimed enzyme, and your own eyes turned against you. Hi, I'm Marin Still, and now you can never unknow this.